Okay, the topic of discussion today is the Major Miscellaneous Fund. I'm going to talk a little bit about our family Major Miscellaneous Fund, what it is, how it works, so on and so forth. Okay. So first and foremost, what is a major miscellaneous fund? Basically, this is a piece of our system that I created in order to facilitate some of the things that our family is trying to accomplish. An emergency fund, which is a topic that I discussed in the previous video, is something that many people have heard of before. I did not create that idea. That's an idea that was already out there. But this major miscellaneous fund is something that I basically created to help our family operate in the way that we're trying to operate. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to say. That you may not have heard of anything like this. I'm pretty sure you haven't because I made it up. Okay, but it works for us, so we use it. Okay, so first and foremost, what is the major miscellaneous fund? Basically, the major miscellaneous fund is a pool of money that our family members put together for the purpose of spontaneous expenditures, right? And in order, I need to put that in perspective a little bit. This is not, like I say, the emergency fund video that I made talks about, the money that we have created as a fund for when emergencies show up, right? This is something different. It is for spontaneous expenditures that may not be included on your budget. Let's say, for instance, right, this is a person's budget. The expenditures that the major miscellaneous fund will take care of are expenditures that are not included on this budget because they are not regularly recurring expenditures, but they are spontaneous expenditures that come up every now and then, right? Let's say, for instance, a flight, you want to take a trip and you have to pay for the flight and you have to pay for the hotel. That is not something that most people have on their regularly recurring budget. I mean, I imagine some people who travel a lot, they just put money aside every month. They probably have a line item that says travel, but most people don't travel enough to do that. So especially in our family, we don't travel like that. Long story short, we have created this major miscellaneous fund as a place where money is stored for spontaneous expenditures that happen outside of the normal course of our lives. Okay. Now, in order to understand why this is necessary, you have to understand a little bit more about the context of how our family operates, right? And the bottom line is, let's say, for instance, this is a budget for one family member, right? So one of the things that we do in our family is that I sit down, the Financial Capital Committee, and myself as the chair of that committee, I sit down with every family member and we go over a budget. We do a budget, we do a statement of net worth, we do a financial plan, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot of things that we do, but included in the things that we do is create a budget for everybody. Okay, that's one of the first things we do, week one, day one, something like that. So it's something that we do at the very beginning of the relationship of people coming in and getting organized and being a part of the organized family. But with that said, you have to understand how this plays into what we do. So everybody has a monthly budget, right? And of course, these are the income items. These are all of the expense items here. And then after a person has got their income, spent their money on their expenses, then what's left over is what we call net disposable income. But in our family, it might as well be called the investable assets, because in our family, every dime that a person has left over after they pay their bills, which is represented by this number, every dime goes to the family investments. Like I said here, as a rule, all of this goes into family investments. So in our family, there are no excuses to be made. Everybody will contribute to the investments. We will build wealth, and this is one of the ways that we do it. So that is mandatory. Whatever money is left over, it goes to the family investments, and then we come together as a family and decide what we want to invest in. This is one of the main things that separate us from a lot of the other families who will never build anything. Let's just face it. Most people come from families that don't work together and never will work together to build anything, but we will be different, and this is one of the reasons that we will be different, because we have mandatory investment. Okay. Now, the reason that is important, based on what I'm trying to talk about today, is the fact that you can imagine how a person may feel. Okay, I've made all of my money. I've spent most of my money on my expenses. And now you mean to tell me every dime that I make has to go to investments? Well, what if something else comes up? What if an emergency comes up? Well, we have the emergency fund for emergencies. And I discussed that in a different video. Well, what if something is not an emergency? It's just something I want to do, but it's not included in my monthly budget? That's a fair question. And that's where the major miscellaneous fund comes in at, right? So it is a pool of money that has been created just for that. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the details of it. It won't take long because it's a pretty easy topic. But as you can see here, this, like I said, this is the budget for a hypothetical family member. And as you can see down here on line 25, we have a line item called major miscellaneous. For us, the major miscellaneous is just like a bill, just like you pay your phone bill every month, just like you pay your car payment every month, so on and so forth. Each family member pays into this major miscellaneous fund, and it's just like a bill every month. We have democratically decided what that number will be, and just so happened right now we've settled on $200. Actually, it's been $200 for years now. But if the family came together and said, you know what, we only want to put in $150 per month for major miscellaneous, or we want to put $300 in, then we will change that. But $200 is the number that we settle on. So therefore, every family member has, as an additional bill on their expenses, is this major miscellaneous contribution. Every individual adult family member, right? Now, that to put it in perspective, how this works and where that comes into play, you can imagine here we got a hypothetical family of 5 members, right? So if every member is required to put in $200 a month, then you will see at the end of that first month we would have $1,000 in that account. And then if no one made a pool, if nobody had a reason to request money from that fund, then the next month the money will build up to $2,000, right? And then the next month after that to $3,000, so on and so forth. So long story short, every month each family member is putting in $200. That means every month $1,000 goes into that major miscellaneous fund. If no one makes a request, makes a pool, uses any of the money, then that money continues to accumulate until someone does, right? So if no one does, then that money will continue to accumulate. $1,000 in the first month, $2,000 in the second month, $3,000 in the third month, so on and so forth. So this is how that money is built up. The major miscellaneous fund is built up by monthly contributions from the family members. Okay. Now, what happens if a person needs to make a pool? Like we said, all the person needs to do is call up the family treasurer, let the family treasurer know that, hey, I need to make a pool for, let's say, for instance, they want to take a trip. I need $400 for the flight, and I need $400 for 2 nights at a hotel. And they can definitely do that. So by putting your money in every month, that gives you the right to take money out periodically, right? And in our family, currently, like I say, all of this stuff, everything that we do, we have written policies and procedures, right? Written policies and procedures that we follow in order to make sure that all of this stuff is in writing. It is done in a sustainable and a consistent manner, and people know exactly what's going on, right? So yeah, that's what happens. So a person will request that money, and then you will get the money. You will get the money to make that spontaneous expenditure, right? There are a couple of things to keep in mind. Of course, we have to be very cognizant of being respectful, of being reasonable, so that nobody abuses this, right? Because one person can't come in every month and say, hey, I want to pull $800 out. And then if you do that in the first month, then the next month you come and try to do the same thing. Of course, this would not be sustainable. So we have to have adults operating as a team with a team atmosphere, nobody trying to take advantage of anybody else. Everybody making these contributions with the understanding that one day, the time will come where I want to make a pool. One day the time will come where somebody else will make a pool, so on and so forth. But as long as we keep our system operating together, then this is something that can work. But nobody will be allowed to abuse it, right? So this is very simple. Like I say, it's just one piece. So yeah, one piece of a larger system, okay? So as I wrap up, I'll talk a little bit with these last points. Number one of our important goals is to build wealth. So we create the system that allows us to do that effectively. We don't make excuses. What I mean by that is very simple. A lot of people make excuses about why they can't save, why they can't invest, all of the things that are getting in the way. We understand that we have to create a system, create a process that guarantees that no matter what happens, we will invest. And this major miscellaneous fund is just one piece of a system, of a total system that has many pieces that allows us to do that, right? Which is basically what I said in number 2. So one of our main goals is to build wealth. In order to build wealth, you have to have investment capital. In order to have investment capital, you must save that money from your wages, from your job. And in order to do that consistently, we have to systematically do that. So we require all of our family members to save, right? And this major miscellaneous is a part to help us do this. Okay. Point number 3 here, everything is taken care of. Okay. And by that, I mean a few things. Like I say, here, monthly expenses and retirement, those things are taken care of via the budget. What do I mean by that? Of course, all of your expenses are already taken into consideration before you even send this $1,000 in, because you literally your take home pay, your gross income before deductions was 5,000 and some change. After all of these deductions, your income was 4,000, and then all of your bills were here. So we know that your monthly expenses are taken care of even before we even get to this bottom line number, because this bottom line number is just a leftover number, right? So your monthly expenses are already taken care of. Your retirement is already taken care of, because if you go up here, one of the payroll deductions is a retirement contribution. So we know that everybody in the family is already making a contributions to their retirement fund. So we're not even worried about that either. So the retirement fund is taken care of via the budget. Before we even get to this $1,000, the retirement fund has already been taken care of. So we know that that's taken care of. Okay. B, for emergencies. Emergencies are taken care of via the emergency fund, and like I said, I created another video where I went into detail about that. But just as a summary, the emergency fund is a fund that the family has created to help family members take care of emergencies when they arrive. We have something else that's used to do that, and people can feel comfortable that they have access to that. Okay. Letter C here, Spontaneous expenses are taken care of via the major miscellaneous fund, which is the subject of this video. Like I said, for something may come up during the month that you did not have planned out. It's not on your budget. It's not something that you spend money on every month. So you were not planning on spending this money, but it comes up in a spontaneous fashion. It could be a trip. It could be anything. I don't even want to guess it, but it can be anything that comes up. We don't care what it is, whatever it is. It can be anything. Okay. One of the things that we do say is the rule is your major for an individual, the maximum pool is $1,000, right? So if as long as it's $1,000 or less, you can pull from the major miscellaneous fund, okay? But we don't care what it is that you're pulling for. And the last thing here, D, long-term savings, meaning some other stuff that you may be saving for. Let's say, for instance, somebody's trying to save for a down payment on a house. Well, that's already included. What we have here on this line item is called Other. I'm going to make a video to go in detail about it. But long story short, we already have a line item where people save up over the long term for big expenses that they want to pay. Maybe in 2 years, you want to have a certain amount of money for a down payment on a car. So this is what this line item is. And this is what we call Other savings. So long-term savings are already taken care of via this. This major miscellaneous is really for the spontaneous things that come up that you did not plan to come up, okay? But the point is, everything is taken care of. Financially, our system takes everything into consideration: emergencies, spontaneous expenses, retirement. Everything is taken into consideration, and the whole purpose of that is to allow family members to comfortably send in this money every month to the family investment pool, and this is why we're going to be able to build our wealth in a very systematic way. Okay. Number 4, I kind of talked about this already. We choose the number democratically. Currently, it's $200 a month. If the family members came together and said we want to change that number, we could. Okay. And number 5, I kind of touched on this already. Anytime that you're talking about money and who gets to pull what and who deposits what's into a fund, there's always a chance that people may try to abuse the system, or people may try to take advantage and do what's best for them. We don't have that kind of environment, right? First thing first, that's a most important part about what we're trying to do. If you're already dealing with people who think like that and operate like that, then your family is headed nowhere anyway, right? So, but we do have to be cognizant and making sure that nobody is trying to sneak that kind of behavior in. So we do expect everybody to be reasonable. We do expect everybody to be mature, and we expect that no one will try to abuse this situation, okay? So that's it, the major miscellaneous fund. Already.